In 2025, something unusual is unfolding in the world of global tourism, and the United States is right at the center. For decades, America was one of the most beloved travel destinations worldwide. But this year, the old rhythms are cracking. Longtime allies are stepping back. Even nations with deep ties to the U.S. are quietly changing course. This isn't just a shift in numbers, it's a tectonic change. In some regions, tourism is rebounding. In others, business travel is collapsing. And everywhere, trust is eroding. Today, we unveil the top 7 countries whose relationship with the United States is taking a decisive turn. These aren't random events. They reflect a deeper redefinition of how the U.S. is seen, not just as a destination, but as a symbol of values, power, and global relevance. Stay with us, because this divide is wider than you think. Number 7. Japan. Once a quiet powerhouse in U.S. tourism, Japan is now treading cautiously. While Japanese tourist arrivals rose by a modest 5% in April, business travel plunged by over 19%, and student exchanges dropped 14%. The shift is quiet, but it's relentless. Japanese media has raised concerns over rising border detainments and racial profiling. NHK detailed cases where Japanese professionals were interrogated for hours at U.S. customs. One senior engineer was held for 6 hours without explanation. The chilling effect is real, especially in tech and automotive industries. Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has upgraded its travel advisory, urging travelers to maintain a low profile due to increased social instability. Meanwhile, Japanese tourism is shifting. More travelers now head for Southeast Asia and Europe. ANA and Japan Airlines have added routes to Singapore and Paris, while cutting back on West Coast U.S. flights. This isn't a boycott, it's a recalibration. The ties remain, but the sense of security and welcoming spirit that once defined American travel is wearing thin. Number 6. Denmark. Denmark's travel relationship with the U.S. is becoming a roller coaster. April saw a 10% rebound in Danish tourist arrivals. But just a month earlier, travel had plummeted by 34%. Business travel dropped 29%, and student exchanges are consistently low, with growing interest in Canada and the Netherlands. Then came the breaking point, news that U.S. intelligence had allegedly spied on Greenlandic independence movements, a deeply sensitive issue for Denmark. The Danish foreign minister publicly condemned the move, summoning the U.S. ambassador in protest. Since then, Danish consumers are changing their habits. Sales of Coca-Cola and Levi's are dipping, and influencers are promoting America-free shopping challenges. Danish travel blogs now list alternatives to the U.S. The U.S. isn't being abandoned, but it's no longer admired with the same glow. For many Danes, a trip to America feels more like a moral dilemma than a dream vacation. Number 5. Germany. Germany's travel relationship with the U.S. is caught between recovery and retreat. On the surface, April was promising. Tourist arrivals jumped 15%, and leisure travel rose 23%. But in March, travel had plunged 28%, with leisure visits falling by over a third. The confusion lies in a rising fear. How are German travelers being treated at U.S. borders? Several high-profile incidents made national headlines. A 19-year-old tourist detained for 12 hours in New York, a musician interrogated in Texas. German newspapers questioned if it's even safe to visit the U.S. anymore. The German Foreign Ministry has since updated its travel guidance, warning that even with a valid visa, entry is not guaranteed. Business travel has dropped 23.5%, and demand for California flights is vanishing. Lufthansa is now reallocating routes towards South America and Scandinavia. Today, 78% of Germans view the U.S. unfavorably. It's not just about politics, it's about respect, dignity, and safety. Number 4. Australia. Australia isn't turning away, but it's clearly hesitating. April's 1% increase in U.S. travel seems stable, but compared to pre-pandemic growth, it's a stall. According to Flight Center, American bookings have dropped 16%, while trips to Japan, Thailand, and New Zealand are soaring. Business travel fell 7%, and the cause? Rising safety concerns and a shifting perception of the American travel experience. The Australian government has revised its U.S. travel advisory 3 times since April, warning of border scrutiny, airport inconsistency, and issues for LGBTQIA+ travelers. Social media is filled with frustrating stories. People forced to unlock phones, delete data, memorize emergency contacts. The dream of Hollywood and Silicon Valley is fading, replaced by real fears. Australians are asking, is it worth it? Number 3. Sweden-American news footage covering protests and social unrest. Sweden has long enjoyed open cultural exchange with the U.S., but in 2025, cracks are widening. Tourist arrivals rose 21.6% in April, but only after a 17% drop in March. Business travel fell 22% in April, and interest in student exchange programs is waning. A recent poll revealed that 63% of Swedes now view the U.S. unfavorably. The reasons? Concerns about racial justice, LGBTQIA+ rights, and climate policy. Swedish media paints the U.S. as increasingly volatile. Companies are delaying trips, choosing virtual meetings instead. Influencers are now promoting value-aligned destinations like Canada and Norway. This isn't a boycott, it's a moral pause. For Swedes, travel is about values, and those values now feel misaligned with what the U.S. represents. Number 2. France. France's retreat is no longer subtle. In March, U.S. travel dropped 8%. In April, another 12.2% vanished. Tourism and business visits both in decline. Business travel alone fell by 13.6%. French media is critical. Tariffs, foreign policy, even American culture are under scrutiny. One outlet dubbed 2025 the year Americans lost Paris. And while dramatic, it reflects growing resentment. Some travelers now remove American logos from clothing or wear Canadian flags to avoid confrontation. A Parisian traveler told Le Monde, "I used to dream of New York. Now I dream of not being mistaken for an American." Polls show that 73% of French citizens no longer view the U.S. as a reliable ally. For many, the magic of America is being replaced by discomfort and disillusionment. Number 1. Canada's retreat from U.S. travel is perhaps the most emotional and complex of them all. As America's closest neighbor and one of its strongest allies, Canada has long shared not only a border but deep cultural, economic, and familial ties with the U.S. But in 2025, those ties are being strained like never before. Tourism from Canada to the U.S. has dropped by 18% year over year, and business travel has fallen even more sharply, down 27%. This isn't just a fluctuation, it's a message. Canadian citizens are citing rising hostility at U.S. border checkpoints, growing political polarization, and anti-immigrant rhetoric as reasons for reconsidering their trips. Canadian media has picked up on multiple stories of travelers being treated with suspicion at land crossings and airports. Even dual citizens being detained for hours without explanation. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, recently aired a segment titled, "America Still a Friend or Now a Risk?" And it struck a chord. Even educational and sports exchange programs have slowed. Hockey teams are canceling friendly tournaments, and universities are seeing double-digit declines in applications for U.S. programs. In provinces like British Columbia and Ontario, U.S. road trips, a classic tradition, are being replaced by domestic adventures and trips to Europe or Asia. Airlines like Air Canada and WestJet have started redirecting capacity toward Caribbean, UK, and Asia-Pacific destinations. And Canadian travel blogs now host listicles titled, "Where to Go Instead of the U.S." Quietly heartfelt. For many Canadians, the withdrawal isn't rooted in anger. It's rooted in sadness. It's a pulling away from a neighbor that once felt like family. The trust, the warmth, the easy laughter across an invisible line. It's not gone, but it's definitely faded. As one Toronto resident put it, "I still love America, but I don't feel safe there anymore." What we're seeing in 2025 isn't just a slump in tourism numbers. It's a recalibration of relationships. These 7 countries, Japan, Denmark, Germany, Australia, Sweden, France, and Canada, aren't just changing travel plans. They're redefining how they see the United States. For decades, America stood as a beacon of freedom, opportunity, and safety. But now, to many, it feels like a nation in flux, where the welcome mat is worn and the lines between friend and foreigner are blurred. Travel isn't just about geography. It's about trust, respect, and a sense of shared humanity. And as long as those foundations are shaken, even the closest allies will start to step back. Stay aware. Stay open. The world is watching.